We are going to get started. If you please take your seats, please. Welcome and thank you for joining us today at MAM's 8th Annual Overcoming Obstacles Luncheon. Imagine. I am Chris Chandler, Board Chair of Memorial Assistance Ministries. It is so great to see everyone here in person. We were last here 2 years ago when we were welcoming Sonia G. and congratulating Martha McCrease on her retirement. What a 2 years it's been. We have an exciting program in store for you as we celebrate the many ways your generosity enables MAM to help so many of our neighbors. But first, I'd like to thank our premier sponsors, Bob and Barb Zorick, Platt and Carolyn Davis, as well as our presenting sponsors, the Phillips Family Foundation, InCap Investments, Amy and Wynn Snoots, Courtney and Doug Swanson, Geo Southern Energy Partners, Vincent and Elkins, and the team of Connolly and Mark Burrows, Lizzie and Ryan Devlin, Jane and Craig Frio, Christy and Kyle Kafka, and Lisa and Brad Thielman. We are humbled by your extraordinary generosity. And to all of our amazing supporters, thank you. You have made today possible. You are part of the MAM family, and we are grateful to each and every one of you. I'd like to recognize two groups today who help MAM deliver on its mission. First, our MAM staff and volunteers. Could you please stand and be recognized in the room? Thank you all so much. And second, our current and emeritus board members are in the room. Thank you for your professional support, your financial support, and your work to ensure MAM's proper governance. Let's give them a hand also. As you can imagine, this luncheon did not just pop up today. A great deal of time and energy went into this event, all under the leadership of our luncheon co-chairs, Courtney and Doug Swanson and Amy and Wynn Snoots. Both the Swansons and the Snoots are longtime supporters of MAM. Most importantly, they are committed to ensuring that all families in our community have the opportunity to access the resources they need. Thank you to you and your event committee for making this celebration a huge success. Something that did pop up today is the MAM Mercado, located in the back of the ballroom. You never know what kind of treasure will show up at MAM's donation center, and today we brought a sampling of those treasures here for you. MAM's resale store receives support from thousands of community members donating their gently used and sometimes new items. Vouchers to shop in the store provide our MAM clients with the dignity to choose work clothes, furniture, and essential household items. This service is especially critical, as you all know, after disasters. And remember, store sales provide more than $1 million each year for MAM's programs and services. If you've not had a chance to visit the Mercado, we hope you stop by before you leave here today. Today, you're going to meet some exceptional people. As we count down towards our 40th anniversary in 2023, we are honoring the individuals whose visionary leadership set the course for MAM during a pivotal time. You'll also hear stories of hope from some incredible people who have accessed MAM's programs, and I know you will be inspired as I am by their grit, their determination, and their hard work. Together, all of us in this room make it possible for MAM's clients to achieve what they imagine for themselves and for their families. And together, we will make it possible for MAM to serve more of our neighbors through the growth and expansion of MAM's main campus on Blaylock, as well as a new satellite location in the Heights. A special couple that has helped us to make this expansion opportunity possible through the donation of land is Linda and Carl Cunanan. Carl could not join us today, but we are so pleased to have Linda with us here today. Thank you for your love for MAM's mission, Linda Cunanan. You'll be hearing more about these exciting opportunities early next year, so stay tuned. At the end of our hour together, I hope you will join me in supporting those ma'am sirs by completing the donation card on your table. Perhaps you might even make a gift in honor of your table host. As you leave today, ma'am staff will be outside the ballroom and happy to receive your donation cards. By joining together, we are creating stable families, a dynamic workforce, and vibrant communities. Now, let us join in prayer with the Reverend Dr. Russell J. Levinson, Jr. of St. Martin's Episcopal Church and enjoy lunch and fellowship with friends.
I promised that I wouldn't preach, although I haven't preached in a couple of days, so settle in. I moved to Houston a little over 14 years ago and was introduced to ma'am by my wife, who was volunteering almost immediately there at the invitation of a friend of hers, Harriet Riley Brown. And ma'am was also perhaps the cause of at least 2 disagreements at my home because ma'am was making a trip to pick up many items at our house, and I pulled a trunk out of our attic that was left by the people who lived in the house before us, and I gave it to ma'am. And then my wife got home, and she said, "So where's that trunk?" It's at ma'am. I'll just leave it there. And then at some point, I think there was an exchange where I gave a jacket, unbeknownst to me, to ma'am. So I'm going to visit this little area over here in search of a trunk and a jacket, and I encourage you to do the same. What a wonderful gift this is. I know some of you have already begun eating, so this is a prayer that covers that which has been consumed and that which will be consumed. So I invite you to bow your heads in prayer. Almighty God, whose love and grace and mercy surround us on every side, we give you thanks for this day. We're so grateful. In a world of need, that there are ministries like ma'am that reach out and serve others, that make possible the rise out of sadness or poverty or need, that provide clothing and furniture, that provide hope. I thank you so much for the sponsoring churches that so many years ago made ma'am a reality, and that those in the years that have followed have made ma'am grow and expand and touch more and more lives, not just day to day or month to month, but year to year. May we be inspired today by our time together. Nourish us with this food and the fellowship we'll share, that we may better serve all those you send our way. Ask your blessing upon ma'am this day and all the days to come. Pray this in Christ's name. Amen.
Thank you. I hope you all enjoyed your lunch. If you happen to still be eating or haven't gotten your dessert yet, by all means, please carry on. I wanted to get to the formal part of our program tonight. Let's step back in time a little. In the early 2000s, if you can believe this, ma'am had 2 part-time employees. We have over 90 today. It was governed and operated by volunteers from our local churches. For 20 years, this model worked okay. And then ma'am had an opportunity to address the growing needs of our community by helping vulnerable families learn new skills that would help them for a lifetime. But this would require more time and energy than could be expected from an all-volunteer workforce. It would take strong leadership and many resources to garner the support to change the governing structure at ma'am and create staff-led programming. Today, we are honoring 2 individuals who imagined what ma'am could do to build stable families in vibrant communities. Together, they harnessed the power of our generous and talented community to create a formal governing board of directors, hire professional staff, and cultivate the funding required not only to give ma'am a new home on Blaylock, but to assure the fiscal future of ma'am. One of their first new hires was Martha McCrease, ma'am's first president and CEO, who retired in 2019. Martha, will you please join me on stage again?
Thank you, Chris. And hello to all of you. Wow, what a wonderful crowd. I can't say that there's anything better than coming back to see MAM just continuing to grow and flourish and help all those that need the kinds of things that they have to offer. So thank you all for the support that you've given over the years and today. There are two remarkable men here with us today, and they took the time to imagine and believe and pray and take a great leap of faith in an organization with much promise and with a solid history, but that needed to move forward. Their strong faith brought them to MAM, and together they imagined all that was possible. And along with that, they inspired others to make it happen.
Bob is a person of faith. I think he's motivated, energetic, highly organized, he's benevolent. Bob is a true servant leader, expects excellence out of himself, and he wants other people to have that sense of excellence in their own lives.
When people are very successful, it's easy for them to forget about other people. And it's easy for them to forget that all God's children don't have shoes. Platt is the kind of person you don't have to convince of that. He knows that. And he knows that this is something that needs to be done.
I got a call one day from a person I didn't know, Gordon Bing, who became a friend. And I told Gordon, fundraising is right down by root canals on the list of things that I want to do. Gordon is quite persistent, and he took me over to MAM's old facilities, showed me around, and talked about what he thought could be done. And he convinced me, and I bought in.
Platt recognizes that he has been really fortunate. He sees his responsibility to, in turn, help others who are less fortunate. And I think that's what kind of drew him to MAM, because MAM is so good at doing that, at giving people the tools that they need and education and the support to be able to thrive and lead a productive life.
John Rasco, who is the president of MAM, introduced me to the concept of there being a change and they needing someone to help, possibly be on the board. And as a result of that conversation, and 1 hour before having heard a sermon on personal responsibility, I said yes to the possibility of being on the board.
He was influenced by people around him in the church to give back. And the more successful his company was, he kind of became a conduit for God to kind of start sharing it and helping. I just have to think it came from God.
MAM at that time was a resale shop that also generated funds that were dispersed into that community for people with problems and encountering issues in their lives.
The foundations had to be convinced not only that the mission was good, but that the structure that MAM was going to put in place was going to be sufficient to bring it to where it needed to be and make the investment worthwhile.
When Platt was doing this, everybody knew MAM is raising the bar. This is not going to be a survival act. This is going to be a flourishing act. Leadership is everything.
What we see today is a result of what Bob did. I think that him chairing the capital campaign to make sure that MAM was financially stable and carried into the future.
You performed a minor miracle, quite honestly, in raising that additional money in 2008, 2009 in the depths of the recession. And our goals were more clearly formed.
All of a sudden it became more than a resale shop. Honestly, just looking back on that beginning versus what's going on there today is just mind-boggling.
The Bible says we're to give honor to those whom honor is due. And honor is due these two men.
He's probably saying, I don't deserve this award. He deserves it. He and Platt both deserve this award.
Doesn't feel like he deserves it. There's a lot other people that are more worthy.
Platt feels the same way. I think he just doesn't like being in the spotlight.
Neither does Bob.
I don't think they'll really want to be out there on that stage.
No, Bob will need a cattle prod to get him out there.
Platt as well.
What do you think we take off?
That'd be a good idea, actually, but I think we have to go out there.
Well, why don't you go first?
Well, why don't you go first? I was going to let you go
All right,
out there.
let's get
That'd be
it
fine.
over with.
All right, let's go.
I can't do this from my head anymore. There are more than 75,000 opportunity youth and young adults in Harris County, and there's a hot spot in Spring Branch. These are young people between the ages of 16 and 24 who are neither working or attending school. Oftentimes, their ability to pursue work or school are hindered by a lack of role models, support, and guidance needed to move forward. In January of 2020, because of these two, with their leadership gifts, MAM launched the Pathway for Young Adults, a program to support and guide this vulnerable group of young people towards successful futures. Pathways provides coaching, career advice, and life-giving skills to disengaged youth who will make up Houston's future. Finding a career path toward a living wage is a critical part of each person's young journey. The program provides readiness classes, a job coach, leading to successful job search, driver education, vocational training to further expand opportunities. And despite the pandemic, the young people enrolled in the program in record numbers. MAM provided them with the coaches and support and education they needed to plan and to move into their future. Today, there will be 11 Pathway clients that you will get to meet. But right now, in thanking Platt and Bob, we want to present them. Where is it? These young people need champions like Bob and Platt, and many of you in this room, to be able to give them the opportunity to grow into whom God intended them to be. And thank you for all that you do to bring the community, make this community stronger through work like this. So right now, I would like to introduce the 11 Pathways clients. Some of you may have met them earlier today in their blue MAM shirts outside. And I would like you to know exactly what they've been doing and what their goals are. Two of these are the son and daughter of Ricardo Bartres, who many of you know at the back door at MAM, or has come to your house to pick up items. And I believe Ricardo's here today as well. Kristen Kaylin Wright. Are you here, Kaylin? Just wave to me. Okay. Her personal goal is to be part of a youth network, growing her skill set and obtaining employment. Right now, she's in the hiring process with HR. Fernanda Sanchez. Her personal goal accomplishment is to improve her job readiness and her skill set as well. She needed a job and knew that she needed training right out of high school. She is currently employed by the Boys and Girls Club as a youth development specialist. Christina Gale. Her personal goal is to improve her job readiness and skills, and she's currently in the process with HR. Kimberly Castillo. Kimberly is really honing into my personal skill set to be able to put my best face forward when interviewing and job hunting. Her current employer is Trident Benefits and Consulting, where she works in inside sales and customer service. Javin Chavez, to find and keep a good job. His current employer is HEB, where he works in the warehouse. Carmen Sanchez, a personal goal is to become CNA certified, and her current employer is the optician department at Sam's Club. Jimena Batras says, I was able to take the first step into the career field I've always wanted, patient care technician. And she has been working at Memorial Hermann, but is leaving to continue her education. Ricardo Batras says he was able to obtain a career in a field that would allow me to help the community around me and also help me grow in every aspect of his life. His employer is Joanne Fabric Store. Alyssa Lugo, seeking an opportunity and to be seen, known, and heard. She is currently working at the Houston Food Bank in the warehouse. Leslie Gonzalez. Her personal goal is to earn vocational training that will allow her to earn a livable wage. She's currently working for Preventus Solution as an EKG monitor tech. Armin Parsi, working part-time while enrolled in college, and he is working for On Purpose as a customer service representative. Samantha Alvarez. Samantha wants new skills to be able to further and increase her knowledge for future jobs. She too is a patient care technician at Memorial Hermann. Jimena will be featured in our video, and her individual story will be shared. And Sonia will be introducing Jimena and her brother Ricardo during her presentation later in the program.
This is like my second house. I had a grandpa that he was a nice guy, but he died when I was 8 years old. I was in depression for many years, and then I got to meet some addictions in my life that drained me down. All my dreams, they went down. And then I got to meet my wife, and she tried to push me in a good way, and that's how I got here. I got to meet all type of people. I feel love everybody here, and that makes a big difference.
When we think about poverty, we think it's about money. It also has to do with our social connections and our ability to connect with others, to feel like we belong.
I'm not a religious person, but I think I'm doing something that God wanted to do, and it's sharing our love. If we didn't have Mom, I mean, there was people with no food or a place to live, it would be tough.
Ricardo is just a perfect example of how MAM can help change our community one person at a time, and how it can have just an impact not only in one person's life, but for generations.
I grew up around that because my dad has worked there since I was really little. He works at the warehouse, and I know that he helps with community service. What I love most about MAM is that they're very welcoming. After I graduated high school, I was planning on going straight to college, but the pandemic had just started. It was very overwhelming for me, and I did not feel prepared at all. I ended up not going to college, so I was looking for work because I had lost my job also due to the pandemic. And then my dad had told me that MAM was holding a CNA training program.
Jimena, I told her, well, they are helping right here, and you want to look at it. And she started, and she loved it.
That's perfect, because I've been wanting to join healthcare since I was still so young. I joined the Young Adults Pathway program, then I started the CNA program. I took another program for EKG monitoring because I just felt like that would also help me for a career in healthcare. And I got certified for nursing assisting, and I was just proud of myself because I was like, I never thought I could do it. I'm going to start college as well, so I'm able to move up to the career that I want.
What MAM's strength is that we're able to meet each person where they are and provide them with a variety of different supports that can really help them on their individual and unique journey.
I made some decisions in my life, probably for 17 years too long, that I put a lot of things on hold. For instance, going to school like all my friends had done. I remember about 2 years ago, I came to MAM, and they had helped kind of give me some more direction as far as being able to figure out what I wanted to be. I think the hardest thing for me was being able to ask for help and being willing to kind of just be teachable. I did their STEP program, and then we learned how to do interviews and learn how to do an elevator speech. That helped me to get back in the workforce. I was very happy to finish that 4-week for the CNA. Whenever I stopped and looked back, I was really proud of myself for how far I came. And my daughter has played a big part of that. She's been right there beside me.
People not only come here to gain new skills and resources they need, but really to gain that confidence and a new sense of what their future can look like.
What I imagine for myself in the future is, of course, having my nursing degree. I also want to try to go for a doctorate because I feel like if I could do this with MAM and with their support, then I could really go farther.
So I might to get to see my grandkids and my kids doing good in the future.
I imagine my future owning my own home, being able to build some kind of a foundation for myself and my daughter. Imagine your life revolving around one thing, the thing that drives you, the thing that controls you. Ma'am, I had a less than perfect family life. My father was an alcoholic, and my mother kicked me out when I was 17. I was a decent student, but dropped out only 3 credits short of earning my high school diploma. In 2003, I was in a car accident that left me with broken ribs and prescription for pain pills. Around that time, things started to fall apart. My high school sweetheart became abusive. I didn't see any options out there for me beyond my relationship. I felt trapped. But man, the pills, they made me feel. They made me feel loved. Within a year, what started at 10 pills per week turned into 80 pills per day. Imagine your entire life revolving around how to maintain this kind of habit. I was so consumed by this illness that my weight dropped to 88 pounds. I was decaying. In the midst of all of this, I was blessed with my beautiful daughter, Lily. I wanted to get clean and be a better daughter, or a better mom for my daughter and myself. I was genuinely happy for the very first time in my life. I started to feel again. A lot of feelings. I was coming out of the numbness that consumed me for so many years. I felt alive. But then reality came crashing back down and I relapsed. I had to make the most difficult decision and I had to send my 3-year-old daughter to live with her grandma to get clean and make a safe home for us. At some point, I heard a voice saying, "Just try." And I think it was God telling me there is a purpose and a point for me living. For the next few years, it was like being on a hamster wheel, constantly taking 1 step forward, 2 steps back, like when I lost everything in Hurricane Harvey. In 2018, I heard that voice again. I looked at myself in the mirror, and I didn't like who I'd become. I decided it's now or never. In 2018, I went into rehab. I am happy to say that by working a program of recovery daily, I have been sober since October 1st, 2018. This is a lot of pressure, y'all, so I'm just gonna get through it, okay? It took a while for my brain and my body to heal. Still doing that. I essentially lost 17 years, and now my illness, and had no idea where to start. But then I found Ma'am, and in a way, I found all of you. I wasn't sure who I was, what my talents were, what to do, or what I wanted to be. Ma'am helped me figure out things and gave me a direction. They provided me structure and resources, but it was up to me to do the work. Thankfully, Ma'am had an employment program that provided the support I needed. I found a job as a caregiver at a nursing home, and Ma'am helped me pay my bills and my rent. Caregiving was never something I thought I could do, but I liked it. I stepped out of my comfort zone. I know sometimes you have to be uncomfortable to grow, like standing in front of 350 people. Sing a blur, okay. While I was working, Ma'am helped me learn skills I never knew I needed, like interviewing, performing under pressure, like now, accepting feedback, and learning how to succeed in a classroom setting again. Not finishing my education always haunted me, so I started studying to get my GED. When I figured out I was good at caregiving, Ma'am told me about their CNA and EKG classes. So I signed up for those too. It's crazy. Here I was working, going through training and trying to get my GED while taking my daughter to school and dance every day. I tasted living and I liked it. I felt like I had missed out on so much for so long, and now is my chance to make up for lost time. I am proud to say that after several times, I finally earned my GED, and in May of this year, I completed my CNA and my EKG credentials. I have a career now that I can be proud of. I get to be outside of myself and care for other people. Now I can independently support myself and my daughter. In the last couple of months, I was able to buy a house with my daughter in League City. Move into a house, not buy yet. We're getting there. That's like a next step. But it's been wonderful. It feels like home for the first time. It's nice to be back in the suburbs, especially being from Katy area. So it's a good feeling. Lily is now 10 and understands the struggles and reasons for the changes along our journey. Working with Ma'am in this whole process helped me get my snap back. I want to become an occupational therapy assistant. I want to be able to buy a home for my daughter eventually. I want her to know that she doesn't have to depend upon a man to build a life for herself. Imagining is not something that I ever had a chance to do before, but now, thanks to Ma'am, I can. I imagine myself being able to get Lily ready for homecoming and prom one day. I imagine being in the crowd as she walks across the stage and being able to be there beside her. You know, I think inside she is a huge part of my motivation and my drive. I do have an illness that I have to work on every single day, except that little girl keeps me moving and crazy. But in the midst of all of that, I couldn't have done any of this without Ma'am's help. I have worked my butt off, I have. But it's been worth every moment. And these are my words. I'm just so grateful to be here in this moment. I'm better, no script. I'm just blessed to have all my friends here, my family, and thank y'all for making that possible for me. Thanks.
Wow. Thank you, Charity, for sharing your amazing story with us. You remind us that we all have something special inside just waiting to be discovered. Charity's superpower is definitely resilience. What's your superpower? Flying through space at the speed of sound, invisibility, or going back in time to a moment when life was simpler? Mine is imagination. My imagination is vivid and vibrant. It takes me places I never dreamed possible. Today, I imagine a world where there is no pandemic, no masks, no vaccinations, no losses of jobs, lives, or liberty. This may feel hard because over the last year and a half, every one of us has suffered. Some of us have lost a job or dealt with a struggling business. Many, like me, have experienced the deep pain of losing a loved one. It has been overwhelming. As the pandemic has drawn out, our hope has been buried underneath layers of uncertainty, frustration, and fear. For the first time in many of our lives, or at least the first time in a long time, we have experienced the isolation felt every day by those who live on the margins, without the resources, connections, or voice to impact their own future. The margins have come closer to home. No longer are those living on the margins just people giving their testimonies at events like these. They're our family, our neighbors, our colleagues, and our friends. We've experienced suffering and perhaps some of the feelings of shame and disgrace that so often come with it. Noted author and fellow Houstonian Brené Brown describes shame as different than guilt or the feeling that you've done something wrong. Shame is the overwhelming sense that you are a mistake. And shame has the power to cast doubt on every action and decision you make with a crippling effect on your life. Imagine that. I imagine a Houston where every person living on the margins has hope. Hope, because for every hard situation, there's an opportunity for help and healing. Hope, because no matter how hard life gets, you are never alone. I imagine a community filled with connectors and conveners, sharing their lives with their neighbors through tangible acts of love, where actions speak louder than words. Yes, my imagination is bold and beautiful. I close my eyes and I imagine a world where we see each other as God sees us, as his beloved children, beautiful, full of promise and potential. And when we see the world through those divine eyes, we are truly transformed. I imagine a world where the color of your skin, the language you speak, your age, your sexuality, or your immigration status does not limit you. I imagine a reality where the lines that divide and exclude have been erased. Living on the margins is hard. Often, the demands of the moment overwhelm any ability to think or plan for the future. Like for Rudy, a proud father who worked for over 10 years to provide for his kids, taking 2, sometimes 3 minimum wage jobs just to make ends meet. I remember him breaking down in tears when he told us that he had always been taught to provide for his family, but nobody had ever taught him to focus his efforts on gaining new skills and a higher paying job so that he could work less and spend even more time with his kids. You see, it only takes one person with a new way of thinking to propel a life in a new direction. One person who can see in you the potential that you cannot see in yourself. But these opportunities don't come out of nowhere. They are created when we spend time with one another, sharing our lives, our experiences, and our resources, our time, treasure, and talents. It's said that to truly love God, we must first learn to love ourselves, then learn to love those who are like us, and ultimately grow in our love for those who are different. It's a process that takes a whole lot more than the superpower of imagination. It takes time, stepping out of our comfort zone with intentionality and perseverance, an open mind, and a loving heart. At MAM, we take those steps every day, standing in the margins with those so often overlooked. We invest in our neighbors, and in the process, we learn that true compassion is found not just in service to those on the margins, but in our willingness to see ourselves as one of them, to imagine their lives as ours. It's learning to drop our judgments and seeing how compounding problems and broken systems can make it difficult, nearly impossible, to get ahead. It's understanding how a small emergency can quickly erupt into a major crisis. As we stand in the margins, we see more clearly that poverty is about so much more than money. It is families in our community, maybe even our own neighbors, that lack physical, mental, social, and spiritual health, resources we so often take for granted. At MAM, our mission is not merely to alleviate temporary symptoms of poverty. Rather, it's to facilitate a process where our most vulnerable neighbors can learn to understand their own capacity, envision a strong future, and work on a plan to sustainability. We know this can take time, sometimes years, or even generations, and we are in it for the long haul. At MAM, we know that we're stronger together. We were founded by 13 faith communities who had a deep desire to love their neighbors and a strong conviction that they could do it better together. A couple of weeks ago, I had a day with back-to-back meetings. Imagine that. And in the middle of yet another Zoom call, Luis, our custodian, stopped by outside of my office. He was gesturing through the windows. Miss Sonia, usted tiene una llanta ponchada. I had a flat tire. I thanked him and quickly glanced to my calendar. I was booked solid all day into an evening presentation. I thought, okay, I'm just gonna have to Uber and figure out the next steps when I get there. But by the time my meeting was over, I had a text message from Chantel, my assistant. You have a flat. Do you want me to ask one of the guys to put a spare on for you? Honestly, my first reaction was reluctance, stemming from my own pride and fierce sense of independence. I felt a sense of embarrassment or maybe even guilt asking for help. But I eventually gave in and handed over my keys, knowing that their help would allow me to focus on everything else that I needed to get done that day. A couple of meetings later, I had more texts. The guys checked. You didn't have a spare. I took a deep breath, but I kept reading. So Charles removed your tire, took it to a shop to get it fixed, and he put it back on your car. You're good to go for your presentation. It was in that moment that I paused, took a step back from my busy day, and I processed what had happened. Amidst my poverty of time, somebody else stood in the margin, stretched out their hand, and bridged a gap for me. Without Luis, I wouldn't have even known about my flat until it was too late to do something about it. Without Chantel and Charles and Ricardo, I would have been stressed out trying to catch an Uber and probably missed my evening presentation. But instead, I was overwhelmed with gratitude and satisfaction, not just from the relief of having my tire fixed, but from knowing that I was not alone. For those of you who know the MAM team, you probably aren't surprised. This is what we do every day. MAM is here to help people fix the flat tires in their lives. Our work is about so much more than the jobs we help people get, the English that we help them learn, or the rent that we help them pay. It's about letting people know that they are valued and that they are not alone. It's spending time with our neighbors, listening to their lives so that we can notice their flat tires and be there to offer help. Perhaps before COVID, the margins seemed far away, but today we all know somebody who is struggling to find a job or to pay rent, wrestling with their mental health, or struggling just to find hope and purpose in life. MAM's mission is to build stable families, a dynamic workforce, and vibrant communities together. We stand with those living on the margins to reinvigorate their lives with resources, skills, and confidence that they need to fulfill their goals and dreams. And in the process, we move from a place of judgment to a space of compassion and caring. Today, as I exercise my superpower, I imagine a city where nobody lives on the margins, where we all work together toward the common good, where individuals are empowered to build stable lives full of meaning and connection, where parents working hard to support their families experience the satisfaction of providing for their children's healthy development and education, where every kid grows up believing that they can achieve success. MAM activates my imagination. We bring together our community to create hope, stability, and a strong sense of belonging. When a mother loses her job, MAM is there. When a recent immigrant struggles to find their place in this immense city, MAM is there. When a family loses their home in a tragic disaster, MAM is there. When a young man believes that nobody cares about his future, MAM is there. For nearly 40 years, MAM has not only imagined a city where no one lives on the margins, we have worked hard every day to make that vision a reality. We open our doors every day knowing that somebody's life will be changed by our work. We witness the power of hope, the promise of potential, and the transformation of hearts. Yet there is still so much work to be done. For every family that MAM serves, there are dozens more who need our help. We continue to expand our capacity so that every family has access to the support that they need to build a more stable, abundant life. We will stand with those in the margins until the margins are erased. But we cannot do it alone. It will take all of us standing together. Today, I am truly blessed to be surrounded by people who care, who believe in our mission, and who join us as we stand with those on the margin. Blessed to have Charity, Ricardo, and Jimena standing in courage and sharing their stories with us. Blessed to have a board of directors who stand with us. And blessed to have volunteers and staff who stand with us. See, it doesn't matter your circumstances, capabilities, or capacity. What matters is that we all stand together. Won't you join us? Won't you stand with us? See, I told you I had a superpower. I imagined all of us standing in unity today, and here we are. Thank you so much for standing with MAM and turning our imagination into reality.